much in a drought. When you look at reservoir storage in Lake Mendocino, we are still well below where we were in 1977 at this time. Now, the situation here in Mendocino County, why not particularly good, is certainly even worse elsewhere in the state, and particularly in the Central Valley. And as a result, last Friday, the governor declared a drought state of emergency for the entire state. Again, getting back to Mendocino County, prior to the recent rains, we were pretty certain that at this point in time, we would also be looking at a drought state of emergency declaration. But as I mentioned last week, we really don't meet that basic criteria. We have received some rainfall, and there is no immediate threat to human health and safety. And so, therefore, we don't think that we can make the necessary findings to declare a state of an emergency. However, all that being said, the water situation here in Mendocino County continues to be pretty tenuous and requires an attention, and accordingly, staff is proposing that the board adopt a drought resolution that, among other things, would urge Mendocino County residents to conserve to the maximum extent practical Mendocino County's water supplies. The drought resolution also directs the water agency to do four things. First, continue and to the maximum extent possible expand ongoing efforts to promote water conservation in the county. Secondly, assist water purveyors with the development and implementation of water conservation programs that achieve immediate reductions in water use. Third, work with water purveyors to establish mutual aid agreements and to facilitate the creation of system interconnections for emergency purposes. And finally, assist the County Office of Emergency Services with the compilation of information to make a local emergency drought declaration should the conditions here worsen or otherwise warrant. And I think with that fairly straightforward, I'll stop right there. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions or comments from the board? Any members of the public want to speak on this item?
Snowing.
I hate to hear that. Supervisor McCowan?
Well, you can't fix the roof when it's raining, and you don't need to in the summer when it's not raining. But so I guess we don't need to take any action. But I think we all know that we're still in a pretty serious situation potentially. So I would move the recommended action.
Second.
And a second by Supervisor Brown. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimous. Okay.
John?
Yeah, Supervisor.
I just wanted to make a comment to the fact, I want to underline what you said. We're still in a very serious situation, and water conservation, everyone looking towards the summer months, I think is extremely important. And we need to come back with another resolution and the findings as we move into the spring if we do not have sufficient rain.
Absolutely.
John, members of the public, sure.
John Graff speaking as a citizen. I have a really concern with it because I'm looking at this, and if we know we're below where we were in 1977, and we know that 1977 we didn't have any water in the reservoir in September, and we know that the governor has declared state of emergency for water in some areas, I would think that while it's still raining, we would want to do everything that we could to fill up our reservoir. Because once the rain goes away, you're not going to have any water. But if you look over the reservoir into the other stream that's running down the stream during high waters, in a state of emergency, you could be pumping water out of that stream into the reservoir. There's a lot of things you can do while you still have rain. But I'm concerned that as a Board of Supervisors, if you wait to do something until after the rain passes, we'll be out of water in September of this year because we're already below it. Now, you know, God could be good to us and it could rain like hell and fill the reservoir up, but we don't know that's going to happen. And you have the opportunity to work with some givens here to get some more water in that reservoir, and I think you need to.
Supervisor Brown, you want to comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sonoma County Water Agency will be holding a hearing here locally, and I believe it's to gather the information needed to go forward to the State Water Board in order to change the outflows in Lake Mendocino. I did talk with Victoria Whitney about 3 weeks ago, Mr. Graff, and the potential of having us added to the governor's drought declaration, but we didn't have the findings, and I don't think we can make the findings right now based on the recent rainfall. So I think if Mr. Sanford continues to collect the data, maybe we'll be able to reach the information needed to prove that we do have a drought and can make that declaration. So we have to keep on it.
I think if I may, just to add, there are other things that are continuing to go on. One, for example, the water districts here in the Ukiah Valley are continuing to meet to work out the engineering aspects of emergency water connections. And in fact, the county, we are offering to help do some GIS work to basically memorialize these connections and what it takes to do that. So that if conditions do worsen, we are ready to go right away. I think Mr. Graff's comments are well taken in terms of it is raining now, and that's why it is very important to crank up the water conservation. Supervisor Brown mentioned the potential for a temporary urgency petition that Sonoma County Water Agency is putting together, and this is to, again, get permission to reduce the flows out of Lake Mendocino for the fish flows. The idea being is that while there's still some water there to conserve, let's conserve it now. So this resolution provides, among other things, the Water Agency the okay to go ahead and pursue some of these things. We definitely will, and it certainly makes sense to do that now. I wouldn't want people to think that we're just waiting for it to stop raining before we do anything.
Okay, Supervisor Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To add on to Supervisor Brown's comments, I was going to bring this up under supervisors' reports, but I think it's timely now. Supervisor Brown mentioned the three meetings that Sonoma County Water Agency is convening. It says the agency will host 3 public meetings on Lake Mendocino and Lake Sonoma water storage projections, water conservation, and impacts to the cities, water agencies, residences, businesses, and agricultural communities in Mendocino and Sonoma counties. The agency will also discuss plans to seek an urgency change petition from the State Water Resources Control Board for reduced Russian River flows to our general manager's recent comments. And this will be in Ukiah, Monday, March 16th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Ukiah City Hall chambers.
Supervisor Smith, that sheet of paper you have there also, look at those graphs there. It shows where Lake Sonoma has roughly 10 times the water supply in it as Lake Mendocino does. 10 times. So Supervisor Brown.
Yes, Mr. Graff, I would hope that the Employers Council will be at that hearing on the 16th and come with a letter to help support Sonoma County Water Agency's request to the State Water Board. Thank you.
Okay, Roland, agenda item 9B, you have a general manager report on any other items?
Just very briefly, last week and the last couple of weeks, we've talked about a rural residential emergency water supply assistance program that we're working on. And as I mentioned last week, we're working with environmental health and the planning department. And today, I just wanted, on behalf of John Morley, I just wanted to summarize the results of a homework assignment that the board had given him a week or two ago. And that was, there was a question about shared residential wells and whether or not, what were the permit requirements around that. And long story short there,